Hello and welcome to Be Purely Balanced podcast. My name is Piotrek Kowalczyk and I'm here with Dr. Krystal.
Hi, everyone.
If you don't know Dr. Krystal yet, Dr. Krystal is a gifted healer and spiritual teacher dedicated to the conscious expansion and healing from within. Her work and her passion and her offerings are the manifestation of her soul purpose. She believes deeply in the uniqueness of you and your powerful ability to heal your mind, body, spirit, and emotion. Dr. Krystal's desires are to share healing, well-being, and consciousness with the world by embracing our authenticity, vulnerability, and soul alignment. Good morning, Dr. Krystal.
Hi. This is so much fun to be on the opposite side of the interview microphone.
That's right. And we are the ones who are going to make questions for you.
I know. New role today.
Okay, excellent. So let's move forward. So the reason why we do it because of the knowledge. She's practically a dolphin. She knows everything about them and she breathes them and dreams about them and talks to them on a daily basis. And believe me, I know because I'm her husband. So I've witnessed over the years the beautiful relationship she has with them. So we thought it would be a wonderful idea just to sit down and just talk about empowerment and the beauty of the dolphins, what comes from them.
Yay.
So Krystal, we wonder when your journey with the dolphins started for you.
Yeah, my journey with the dolphins started actually in Puerto Rico. I was at a somato emotional release class with Chaz Perry, who's a dear mentor and friend of mine. And I think I was probably the only English-speaking person. So they paired me with two Puerto Ricans that had some pretty good English skills.
So wait a minute, no dolphin speaks English?
So they paired me up with Debbie and Nora, and they were beautiful. We were such a great group. I loved the weekend of working with them. And at one point when I was on the table, Debbie said to me, "You seem like a dolphin. You're like a dolphin." And I said, I think I was a dolphin in another life, and I'm really fascinated by them. And she was actually starting a dolphin-assisted therapy program, and she needed someone that was skilled as I was in craniosacral therapy and some of the advanced manual techniques to help her to develop the program. So after chatting with Chaz, because he ran a program through the Upledger Institute, after chatting with him for a while, he said, yes, go for it. He said, absolutely, the world needs this work. So for a year, Debbie and I worked together to develop her program down in Tortola in the British Virgin Islands. And then after 1 year, we parted ways, which was our plan all along. And I was able to develop my own dolphin-assisted therapy program.
You also, I know for sure that you developed personal relationships with some of the dolphins.
Absolutely.
Can you expand on that?
I think the first relationship that I developed, I started off my work, it's important to say, I started off my work with dolphins that were under human care. So I was able to understand them from a very personal perspective and also get up close with them and really work with the healing energy. My programs now all take place in the wild, so it's a bit of a different modality. And in the wild, as well as in human care in the open ocean lagoons, I had some really personal relationships. And I'll note two. My first one was with a dolphin. Her name was Venus. And she's still alive. She reminded me so much of myself. We had very similar personalities. There's one researcher out there that calls the personalities of dolphins dolphinalities, which I absolutely love and have taken to. And this dolphin and I just had that synchronicity. It was a soul-to-soul relationship. We were really connected and fell in love with each other in such a beautiful way. I would say the next relationship I want to talk about is this relationship on our most recent retreat. There was this very definite female, probably a grandmother dolphin. And on our first and second day, we encountered this dolphin. And on both days, it was so interesting to see her interacting with me. It's very possible that I've interacted with her in the past. She was an Atlantic spotted dolphin. It was very possible that we've interacted in the past before. I didn't memorize the markings well enough to know for sure, but we had, again, that soul-to-soul connection, and also the eye contact that we shared in the wild, just connecting with each other, sharing time with each other, diving down and popping up was really special.
So, who are the dolphins, and how different they are from us, and the aspect of healing, what offerings they have or share with humans?
I think that dolphins are perhaps the most conscious species, and because of that, they are perhaps the most highly evolved species, or one of them at least, and one that we've gotten to know more than others because they've allowed us into their world in such a way. The dolphins are naturally wanting to share. That's why they're present. That's why they're showing up. That's why humans know about them. That's why humans have spent time with them. They have a message to share. And I think that message in such a big way is for us tuning into our consciousness, for us to evolve consciousness, for us to get into the alpha brainwave state, that meditative state, and living from that meditative state. I think that's where their healing is too. I think it's their power of consciousness. And of course, we can hypothesize that their sonar has many effects. The sounds that they use, the different vibrations that they emit, certainly have healing powers. But I think for the collective consciousness, the idea is really tuning into conscious.
Conscious, which means being present, and kind of use this present moment to explore without coloration.
Exactly.
We humans have tendency to drift away or create or produce some kind of illusion of that moment. So dolphins kind of remind us, right, from my understanding, that the importance of being right now at that very moment with whoever we are.
Yeah, exactly. The present moment is really all we have. And this is something I've learned from the dolphins, is that the present now is ever evolving. So this present moment that we're sharing right now, beautiful as it may be, will become another moment and another moment and another moment. And for us to really remain in that stream of consciousness, we have to allow the present moment to evolve. We have to allow it to become the next. So we continue to move forward. We continue to be in the flow of life, which is another term, another lesson that we can attribute to the dolphins, the idea of flow.
You know what bothers me the most is that if we are attracted to healing, right, we are going to search for it. And there's a waves of different forms of healing, and the dolphins are one of them. When you think about our human development, and we find this perfect yoga class or perfect meditation class or perfect dolphin retreat, when we spend time with them, and everything is fine. We are overwhelmed, just tears coming from our eyes, right? We've got this sensation of connection and settlement, and oh my gosh, this is like the best. Thank you so much, right? And then we come to our reality and we become mean, we become non-attractive, we become angry, we become frustrated. Like this beauty disappears in a blink of the eye. How can we? So now I'm thinking, how can we sustain that zone or use that experience to create a new true reality of our daily routine and circumstance?
Yeah.
So what's your suggestion then?
That's a really good question, Piotrek. I think that first off, we must accept that we are human, right? So we must accept that we have particular attributes as being human. We also have a wide range of emotions that come with being human. And we also want to think toward our neural pathways. If we have been practicing anger, if we've been practicing confusion, if we've been practicing blocking our heart, blocking our emotions for years and years and years and years, it's very hard to change those neural pathways because that's what we've been practicing. So we've been strengthening those neural pathways over and over and over again. And when we go to the yoga class, when we go to meditation, when we go on retreat, we have an opportunity to start to build new neural pathways. And we have to remember that our body still has the old ones. So it takes a practice, it takes dedication to shift into that more peaceful, that more conscious, that more open, that more loving, and really that more authentic state of being. It takes effort. We have to consciously redirect the energy because we don't learn this. It's not like something we learn in kindergarten about our energy system. We don't learn about our neural pathways. We don't learn that emotional outbursts over and over again are eventually going to create blocks for us. We don't learn those things. So the more that we talk about them, the more that we think about them, the more that we address them now as adults and for our own children, the better chance that we have to positively move into this life that has more flow. And when we do that, we're not just going to feel better emotionally, we're going to feel better physically. We're going to feel better in alignment to the life that we're living. We're going to feel more connected to the universe. We're going to feel more connected to source ourselves. It's boundless what's possible.
For someone who just started the journey and the Dolphin's energy and their offerings, how can we take this awareness, the presence, and what's the very first step for someone who never thought about consciousness to move forward and go towards the expansion they always dreamed about?
Yeah, another really good question. I think that it's very,
the baby steps are the
key.
Key. So what would you recommend?
Yeah, I do. I agree with all the experts out there that are talking about this, just starting with 5 or 10 minutes of quiet time, 5 or 10 minutes of meditation each day. If it's too hard to be in silence, there's lots and lots of meditation music out there. There's even on YouTube tons of Dolphin sonar recordings, so you can listen to Dolphin sonar if that helps you to relax. Anything to just get quiet, to tune in. Of course, journaling, of course, spending time in nature. These are some of my favorite ways to get tuned in. And specifically related to the dolphins is, I think, if you haven't met dolphins before, to perhaps use like a dolphin oracle set, and see if you can connect to dolphins, or even look at pictures. There are great Instagram sites out there of people that are photographing dolphins every day. If you see a picture that really resonates with you, and then connect with that picture, connect with that dolphin, see if it's possible for you to receive something, see if it's possible for you to offer something. I think that's a great way to start your connection with anything that's more spiritual. And I think that would be true of, you know, perhaps even an animal, a pet that's passed away, right? I think it's true of working with crystals. I think it's true of working with tarot cards. I think it's true of working with our own energy, our auric field, our chakras. It's just about tuning in. It's just about taking time. And if I may, I'll share a quick story. When I was younger, I was probably 22. It was just before I met Debbie and Nora. And I was at SeaWorld, you know, very, very typical place. I'm not for that or against it. I was there, and I want to just share my story. So, you know, there was some kind of perhaps dolphin petting area. I don't remember exactly the scenario, but I remember sticking my hand into an area where there were dolphins. And a dolphin came up to me and took his rostrum and his teeth and surrounded my left hand with his teeth. He wasn't biting. He wasn't pushing down hard. He just had my hand in his jaw, between his upper and lower jaw. And I thought, wow, this is really interesting. So I actually felt this buzz of energy when that happened. And after that moment went by, I called my mom and said, Mom, you're never going to believe what happened. So I tell her the story. I'm describing this petting or feeding area, whatever it was. And she's, you know, not really reacting. And I'm wondering, why isn't she reacting? And then a few minutes go by and she says, that's exactly what happened to you when you were 5 years old. I've only been to this place twice. I've only experienced this twice. The first time I was too young to remember it, but the same thing happened. So I thought to myself after that moment, I thought, what is happening? What are these dolphins trying to tell me? This was very gentle. There was no biting. There was no aggression. I never felt scared. I asked my mom if I felt scared when I was younger. I didn't. And I thought in that moment, there's something here for me with dolphins. There's something for me to tune into. I don't know what it is, but I want to be open to whatever it was. And then a few years later is when I got my connection to work up close and personal with dolphins. So synchronicity, you know, synchronicity is there. And these moments sometimes happen. These little synchronicities happen. And we pass them by. We ignore them. And when we do that, sometimes we're missing something really big. Sometimes we're missing a great opportunity. Sometimes we're missing something that fills in the gaps for us, that helps us to step into what is our sole purpose. So I definitely encourage you to pick up on the subtleties.
You know, speaking of presence and being vulnerable in that very moment, it seems like when we project the reality, the messages would come from the real world, kind of, they drift away, right? And we kind of never read them. So when we actually focus on that very moment, breathe well, and open heart to receive the message, you know, comes, and then we can just grab it and never let go. Just go with the direction of.
Yeah. I think you bring up an interesting point, which is this idea that dolphins are conscious breathers, right?
Yeah.
So every single breath that a dolphin takes, they think about that breath before taking it. And they're aware of their pod, what's happening in their pod as well, because they don't want to disturb the energy of the pod in order to breathe. So dolphins have these really great breath holds and this really great ability to be a conscious breather and synchronize breathing and so many other things with their pod. And tuning into breath it's an ancient healing modality for humans. It's been going on, for 5,000 years of Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic medicine. And it's been going on for even longer. 5 million years, dolphins have been in existence in the form that we see them today. 5 million years. That's huge. So they've been a conscious underwater animal that consciously breathes for 5 million years. This is huge. So they've had a lot of time. They've had a lot more time than we have. Our species is only about, 200,000 years old. So they've had a lot more time than we've had to really tune in, to really develop into the species at the highest level. But this conscious breathing is extremely special, because conscious breathing, when we're breathing consciously, we're not able to be thinking, which means we're not able to let our thoughts get away from us. We're not able to be in that cycle, that creation cycle of something that isn't. We're not able to ruminate on some topic for extended length of time. Rather, they just are what they are. So conscious breathing helps us to get into that present moment. And I think breath is taken for granted. We are not, as a species, we are not conscious breathers. We have developed the ability to just breathe. And we breathe when our body believes we need a breath. When we flip that around and use our brain to tune into the breath, to pay attention to how that breath comes into our being, to pay attention to how that fresh oxygen feels within our body, how that fresh oxygen brings blood flow to different parts of our body. That's where something really special can happen. That's where we can start to get tuned in, one, to our body, our self-awareness, and two, to really filtering out the unnecessary mind chatter, to really filtering out this illusion of reality.
How can we fall in love with the reality versus projection? Because sometimes it's hard to see the value towards it, because our projection, first, number one, we can control it. Number one, we can color it in any form, right? We can have opinions, and we are always right? And the list continues. How can it becomes addictive to the point that reality doesn't taste that well, because the reality for some of us represents physical or emotional pain, and we try to escape from it. And now we become addicted to our own virtual right living. So now, how can I transit from what I just created, right, in my head, versus how can I fall in love with present, with breathing, with dolphins, with consciousness, with creation all around us in real time?
That is another really good question.
Yeah, I've got my moments.
The word that keeps coming to me is alignment. And really that idea of soul alignment, that idea of soul purpose. When we get vulnerable enough, when we get to know ourselves authentically enough and strip away all of the masks, all of the layers that we've created for protection, the layers that we've created for advancement, the layers that we've created for success, whatever it is, when we strip those away and see ourselves vulnerably, authentically, we have the opportunity to tune in to our soul alignment. And a soul alignment is really us living as a soul in a physical body. That means we're playing with life as a soul, because that's what I believe we came here for. I believe we came here just to experience being human. I believe that our soul wanted this tangible experience. Our soul wanted to touch it, taste it, smell it, feel it, and see it. We wanted that really robust sensory experience. We wanted all of those sensations. So that's why we're here. That's what we, came down to the planet to experience. So it comes down to stripping away the crap. It comes down to letting go of all of these facades, letting go of all of these images of what you should be, what you need to be, what you have to be in order to be successful, in order to be the best at this, in order to be the top ranked whatever, right? Once we let all of that stuff go, we can actually get a baseline and see, who are we? And once we do that, once we get that vulnerable place, once we see who are we with all the stuff stripped away, then we can talk about soul alignment. Then we can talk about soul purpose. Then we can look at, why are we here?
Very often the element of being scared plays an extreme role. We hurt people, we push people around because we are scared. So we never tell anyone about it. We just hurt them in order to escape. So the question is, when you interact with dolphins and you're in the water with them and you hear their sonar, right? So the question is, we are trying to break a habit of hurting people because we are scared. Now, is there any way we can use their sonar as a healing tool just to break through this pattern? Or is the sonar is just an excuse for them to recognize that we are there? And if the sonar has ability of going beyond just a recognition of physical and go into, like you sometimes say, dysfunction, right?
Yeah.
If you could just expand on that.
Sure. I love this question. And I think the first thing to say is that it's extremely important to know that dolphins are very aware, right? They live in the big open ocean, while in some ways they're toward the top of the predator chain. They do have predators. There are sharks that are going after them. There are other animals that are going after them. And of course there are boats and, pollutants and all of these other factors, right? So they've become very aware. They've become very observant. And sonar is an extra sense that dolphins have. What sonar is essentially is it's a way for dolphins, and there's other animals that use it as well. It's a way for dolphins to use the vibration that they can create within their own body to explore their environment. So essentially, they create a vibration. They send that vibration outward, and they can do this up to 200 meters or more. They send this vibration outward, and then that vibration comes back to them. How that vibration comes back to them is how they assess what's there, right? So they'll be able to distinguish, is it a fish? Is it a shark? Is it a human? Is it a boat?
Danger, right?
Right,
Yeah.
Exactly. So they know these things. So they use their sight. Of course, they use their sound, their hearing. And of course, they use sonar. They're really tapped in these senses. So that makes them extremely aware. Because of that, they also have this ability to really tune in intuitively. And this is, if you believe in intuition at all, you're listening to this podcast, so probably you do. As people start to develop intuition, it's really about that gut feeling, right? It's really about the sensation of alignment. And so we start to build intuition through building awareness. We get more and more tuned into the subtle energies. Of course, dolphins already possess that ability. So it's said that they're extremely intuitive creatures. Now, based on that, before a human even gets in the water with a dolphin, it's my belief that the dolphins already know us. The dolphins already know everything about us, and they know who we are. They're curious from this physical perspective to get to know them. As we get to know them, they want to see how we interact with them. They want to see how we might play with them, if they can trust us. So they're curious, and that's why they continue to come to humans. And what I've seen as far as dolphins imparting sonar upon humans is that they're using sonar as a healing mechanism. So they're emitting sonar as the vibration, which is exactly what we need. They have very different frequencies. Their frequency range is extremely wide. So they can emit lots and lots and lots and lots of different frequencies. I think I read somewhere that dolphins have over 3,000 different sounds that they make. On top of that, of course, they then have the actual emission of sonar. And when they're doing sonar to a human, which we've seen, we've experienced, we've actually felt it, they're giving us a frequency that we might be lacking. So, for example, when I was working with a dolphin called Hippo, he was the pack leader. He was the alpha male, but also he was the pack leader for dolphin assisted therapy. Like, he loved doing dolphin therapy sessions, loved it so much, was just engaged, and he also loved to receive. So there would be days when I just get in the water and he'd roll onto his back. So his blowhole would be underwater, and he'd just present his heart. And I'd just place my hand on his heart and work with him. It was like one of the most beautiful things. So one day I got in the water with Hippo, and we were in super deep water because we wanted to test things out. We were playing. And so Hippo came right up to my head, the very top of my head, governing vessel 20, and put his rostrum there, and then started doing sonar with his rostrum against my head. And to me, that felt like everything was changing. Like, it felt like I had a new outlook on life. I had a new vision of life. I had a new awareness. I had new sensation. And I felt really tapped in to my own self. And by being so tapped into my own self, I was able to be really, really tapped in to everything around me. And it changed the way I was treating clients. It changed the way I was working with clients. So the sonar is powerful, and it shifts things in a major way. And again, the question, how do we translate that? How do we carry that with us, right? And it comes down to, we can recall that. And I believe, and Dr. John, who was one of my mentors, Dr. John Upledger, believed that dolphins are transmitting energy to humans. They're transmitting it in a form, perhaps called dolphin energy. And it's a phenomenon that perhaps we can't always scientifically understand, but it is its own healing modality. It is its own energy. It is its own frequency. And that's something that we have the ability as humans to tap into. So it goes without saying, do I use dolphin energy in healing sessions? Absolutely. And I think everyone has this ability to use dolphin energy, that's been with a dolphin, that's tuned into dolphins, whether spiritually, whether physically, whatever, to tap into that energy, to tap into that healing energy. I feel like that's readily available to us.
Beautiful. When I spend time with the dolphins and observe them and just feel them and play with this wonderful warm sensation of their sonar, I realize that number one, they are not confused. They are straightforward. They know what they want. They know who they are. Right? And now I'm thinking, in order to get healthier or better or stronger or more grounded or settled, we have to become attracted to that energy. In order to progress with it, we have to practice it. Like, we go to the dance class and we introduce a concept of the new footwork, and we have to spend time with the footwork in order to get better with it.
Yeah.
Right? And over months, we become, right, so comfortable with it to the point that we can move forward with something else.
Right.
When you play music with any instrument, you do the same thing. You approach note after note, you practice, and you get better. Right? So if there is no attraction, there is no practice. Basically, I'm assuming, right? So this is male kind of vision, straightforward. It's like, how can we introduce the healing to someone who is not ready yet for it? Like, do we have to be like patient and let them breathe for a couple of years before they start kind of tuning in? Because if you force, they will just walk away.
Right.
It's like if you push it, it's like, you know what, it's not my cup of tea. And we could, by that behavior, we could lose someone for years to come. So how can we be more patient with, like, we see the value in something and we try to force our values on others. How can we change it? How can we use, right? How can we use the vision or the experience of being with the dolphins and into our own doing? So we basically respect someone else's pace or time or self-development.
Yeah, you brought up a couple of good points here. The first one is this idea of attraction. Undoubtedly, you have to be attracted to something. You have to believe in it in order to implement it and in order for it to work for you. So someone that doesn't believe in dolphin energy may not be attracted to dolphins, may not have the same experience that I've shared with dolphins, or that Piotrek has shared, or any of our retreat participants have shared, right? It comes down to, what is your point of attraction? And we all have different points. I've been fascinated by working with dolphins for all these years. I've been fascinated by people that work with sharks, and they have the same fascination. They experience the same things from sharks that we might experience from dolphins. And it's interesting because I don't have that same connection toward them. If I have a choice, I'm always going to be, hanging out with dolphins. 99% of the time. But, there's something there for them. There's something rich that they get from that. And of course, sharks are even older than dolphins, and they have even greater history, and they have other superpowers. If you call sonar a superpower for dolphins, we could say magnetism is a superpower for sharks. So they have other ways, right? We all have different things. And I think the key to anything is finding out, one, what are you attracted to? What makes you feel light inside? And that's true with any healing modality. Some people really, really resonate with sound healing. Some people really resonate with needling. Some people really resonate with massage. Some people resonate with this, that, or the other. There's probably thousands and thousands of modalities out there, right? So it's choosing modalities that make sense to you. And that's not just about healing, that's about everything in life. Choosing what makes sense, choosing not from an intellectual perspective, but from an energetic perspective. What makes the circuit more complete? So I think that's really important to share. Beyond that, but we must, as a healer, I feel, we must really accept any person that comes to be on our table, that comes to be with us in the water. We must accept them exactly as they are in that moment. So when we're able to do that, we're able to tune in better to what they might need in that moment. And of course, their body is doing the healing work. Their energy system is doing the healing work. I'm just there facilitating. And that's true of any healer. You know, we're there facilitating. We've got this perhaps ability to tune in, just like dolphins, to a frequency or to something specific that might be needed within that individual to help them to move forward in healing their own body. And we tap into it and then we share it with them. So it's an active process of healing. And I think, you know, conversations sometimes with others can really cause that sort of butting of heads, right? Can really cause that resistance and contrast. We start to want to implement, you know, this idea, dolphin therapy or being with the dolphins in the wild is the absolute best experience ever. You have to do this now, you know? And we might be saying that to someone who loves horses and who goes on retreat every year to be with horses, you know? Or we might be saying that to someone who's not ready at all. You know, they might be very much into their job of working on a computer and programming and creating codes and all of these things. So they might not, one, have a desire to connect in that way. And two, they might be really confused. So we can't just impart our experience. We can't impart this tremendous evolution that we might have had onto somebody else. It's up to them to experience it. And I think a great example is, you know, our personal experience. When Piotrek and I met, he said, "What's your spirit animal?" And I said, "Oh, that's a line." And
yeah, it was actually.
And so, of course, I said dolphin, and he says, "No, that's mine." And I said, "Oh, this is definitely a line."
No, I said you cannot have dolphins because
because it's mine.
Yeah, it's mine.
And so I knew this has got to be a line, right? So then he takes me out to his station wagon, which was parked next to my station wagon. They were both dark colored. And in the rear view mirrors of both station wagons, there were dolphins hanging. And I thought, okay, I might be in trouble here. But since that point, there's an evolution of, I've continued some of the work with dolphins that I was doing before we met. And then you had your first experience with actual dolphins beyond just the spiritual realm this year.
Yeah. Since we are talking about relationships, and I've noticed that your knowledge is extraordinary regarding the dolphins. And we can talk about, you know, their life forever, believe me. And I think the purpose of this interview is slightly different. But I want to explore one of the topic what kind of sometimes bothers me. It's the dolphin's sexual life. So, from my understanding, they can have fun at any time with anyone.
Yes.
Okay. So now, it's I have a theory hidden behind the scene, the difference between the dolphins and the humans, right? And why it's not possible for humans to be a part of such a a trend. Okay. And so I want you to expand on that. So I think because their freedom, their ability of feeling the very moment without any judgment and going through it because of the pure pleasure, it's like this, I don't know, something was, you lose yourself in, right? And you don't care and you don't mind and there's no other questions. You just go after your desires. For humans, it's impossible. Number one, because we like the element of control. We like element of owning someone, element of being jealous, right? Uncomfortable, we trick within us all those different unfortunate elements what kind of hold us back from achieving anything, right? And this ball of a sidecar kind of takes us on a totally different path. So now I'm thinking, if we could release that, right, the dolphin's life in human body is totally possible, but we are not longer humans. I think it's like a package deal, what comes with humanity, and there is nothing we can do about it. So automatically, we can just look at the dolphins with this, right? Would be nice, but it will never happen for the humans. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of emotion wrapped up in relationships. I think there's a lot of emotion wrapped up in this idea of monogamy that humans sort of force ourselves into, right? As a species, we, for whatever reason, have fallen into this role of support within with a male and a female, and very, very often now that has changed a little bit, a male and a male, or a female and a female, right? So it doesn't matter so much if you're straight or gay or anything else. What matters is we very often fall into this role of a couple, and then perhaps that couple has children, and that's the idea of a family structure for humans, where the idea of a family structure for dolphins is very, very different. The males, the adult males, are very often on their own. They're with other adult males, they're feeding, they're really trying to become the alpha. So they kind of fight with each other even to see who's the biggest and to make themselves stronger. Because of course the females are going to want to procreate with the males that are going to provide them with the most robust children, right? They want their children to survive. But then the family structure, once the females use the males to get pregnant, they come back to these units of females.
That part is similar, right?
Yeah. The females really come back to a pod of females. So they're with other females and they're young. And so the females are raising the children in a community. This is just how it works with dolphins. Perhaps there's some societies, some more indigenous societies of humans that are like this, but this is definitely not the norm of what we experience. That said, while I don't see humans, just having a sexual frenzy at any point as a species in the near future, I do see some wisdom coming from what you noted. And I think what that wisdom is the idea of choice, right? So if we're engaging in a sexual relationship, if we're engaging in a marriage, it's really important to know where we are, to know that if we're choosing monogamy, it's because that's what we really want. If we want to be engaging in intercourse with only our husband, only our wife, it's because that's what we're choosing, not because that's what society is telling us to do. And I think it's important to know, does that feel good to you? Does that choice really feel good to you? And if it does feel good, then by all means, go for it. If it doesn't feel good, then, you have to look at, why doesn't that feel good? What's missing? Or what's lacking? Is it this idea of freedom? Is it this idea of being able to explore? Or is it something that's within you?
Yeah. I learned over the years, and it's not only about the sexual energy, but if you say no to your heart over and over again, it kind of backfires on you. And it hurts you more than anyone else. So we are not suggesting that you should just be open and free, right? Sexually, but with your desires, and desires, go towards the dance, towards the music, towards the art, right? And other forms of living, skiing, if you wish, if you push it away, right? That one day, just go for it, wherever, your heart desires, just make sure that you follow that inner voice,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, that's 100%.
Yeah.
100% accurate. And, you have to think of the dolphin life. It's a simple life. There's no technology. There's no podcast. There's no Facebook. There's no Instagram. There's no job per se, right? Their experience is about eating. It's about sleeping. It's about playing. It's about having sex.
Okay.
And it's about staying safe. That's it. That's the life of a dolphin. It's an extremely simple life. So if there's anything else that we can obtain from this conversation and this topic is the idea of simplicity. When we start to strip away the things that don't serve us, when we start to strip away the things that we really don't need.
So everything related to senses, our senses, could be viable.
Exactly.
Anything what doesn't belong to it, it's just waste of time.
It's a waste of time and a waste of space. And really also a waste of resources.
Wow.
So if I may, speaking of resources, just to go out there with this quickly, our planet, right?
Mm-hmm.
We, as humans, came onto the planet long after the other species came onto this planet, particularly the water species. And I think it's extremely important for us to tune in to our planet as a whole, to be aware, to be mindful of the impact that we have on the planet. One, we have to remember that it's our home. This is our home. Your home is not just the house you live in. Your home is the planet, right? Without the planet, there's no life for humans. And two, we want to think about our planet in terms of the other species that inhabit this planet. We want to be really aware of our impact in any way that we can. And it's becoming more and more obvious. It's almost hard to go on social media or click through BBC or a variety of these channels without having awareness toward what's going on with our oceans and the damage that we're causing to the oceans, the damage that we're causing to the planet. And that comes from humans. It doesn't come from dolphins, doesn't come from sharks. It comes from humans. So having some awareness to that collective consciousness, which includes all the other species on our planet, includes our universe, is extremely vital.
I've got this feeling that we just touched the surface of our conversation and the depth of it. So if you feel like you would like to hear more about the dolphins and the global consciousness, maybe participate in the parts 2 or 3 and 4 and 5 of this, just drop us a note. Otherwise, Dr. Krystal Kotar, thank you so much for your time. And we really appreciate you and what you do for all of us. And please, before we go, just let us know how we can find you and maybe expand on your dolphin retreats, because I know that you provide this kind of service for all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Piotrek and I are planning our next retreat, which will be in 2019. We are going to be in the Bahamas once again. We're going to be spending time with hopefully bottlenose and Atlantic spotted dolphins once again. We're going to be having a beautiful experience on an absolutely amazing catamaran. We're going to explore some wonderful beaches where we can actually do some craniosacral therapy and some work. And of course, you can get in touch with me. The easiest way is through the website, krystal-couture.com. And Krystal is spelled with a K.
Beautiful. And on your website, your listeners, they can find all the details regarding the trip.
Yes.
And also your healing practice, right? And all your offerings.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm blessed. Thank you so much for being with us. And for those who listen, just drop us a note. Let us know what you think. And we wish you a beautiful day. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Yeah. It was absolutely amazing to reverse the roles and be challenged with questions that help me to look deeper into my soul and my own relationship with the dolphins.
This conversation truly helped me. I'm overwhelmed by one of my senses. Yeah, sense of taste. I'm really hungry, so let's go. Thank you so much. Bye.